What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Random University. Today I'm joined by Mike, aka Squatchronson, of the Backwoods Radio Show. How you doing, Mike?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad, Just hanging in there with the quarantine and everything.
Yeah, as we all are.
Yeah, but it is what it is. But, Mike, today I wanted to have you on because, well, number one, I came across the posts that you did and Tome Segura promoted. And
Yep.
I don't want to go too much into that right now. We'll go into it a little bit later.
Sure.
But I came across your stuff really on that. And I went to your Instagram page and, all the stuff on there. You had a bunch of funny things. You had the horror type stuff, the comedy genre. And I found it really interesting. And one of the things that also caught my eye was the podcast that you do. How it's kind of like a series, it's a show, right?
Yeah.
And I started listening to it, and because I've never really seen anything like that, where it was like, with podcasts, it's more about, okay, people are going to come on and talk, and we may watch videos, we'll give our opinions about things, but yours is an actual show. So it's not like a real life thing. It's taking place in this town, and
Right.
it's very unique, to say the least.
I appreciate
about it.
that.
What inspired you to start that?
Well, I've always loved horror, and I've always loved movies. I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And in some way, I guess I am, because I do video editing for work. So that's my trade, but I just do boring corporate shit.
Yeah.
So the podcast, after college, I wasn't making any short films anymore. It got to be too time consuming, too expensive to schedule stuff with friends. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to make something that I could just do by myself, in my free time, and just put any ideas I had into it. So I tried to come up with a premise that where it's like anything goes. So any idea that I have basically will fit in there,
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there definitely there's some other storytelling podcasts. There's Welcome to Night Vale, there's No Sleep, but those are almost more I don't know, it's almost more like reading fiction. I wanted to do something that felt almost like a live action show, but in audio format. And in the early episodes, it definitely is more just I guess for people listening, it's a fake radio show set in a town full of cannibals, mutants, and other horrifying creatures.
Yep.
And it's really over the top. It's comedy horror. Sometimes I'll lean more into the horror, but mostly it's pretty comedic. And as it's gone on, I've just tried to make it bigger and more action-packed, more immersive. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I found really interesting, was because it sort of reminded me as a Munsters type thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure that's a good comparison.
Yeah, where you take these characters and the theme of everything, where it opens up with Squatchronson talking on the radio, and he's like, there's been a lot of brutal killings and blah, blah, blah. And but the thing is, it comes off so nonchalant that it's not those are serious topics, like the maiming and, we got caught here and there's zombies over here. It's all serious topics when it comes to things with horror. But the way you develop it into a comedy, in a sense, because these people are it's just their everyday.
Right.
It's just very interesting like that, where he's just rattling off this happened today, this happened, and blah, 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 and so. And then you go into the weather report, and, it'd be good, if you take that person out of the basement because it's going to rain a lot, you move them upstairs into the attic, shit like that, where it comes off so nonchalant like that, where it hits both genres very well, because you have the horror of it, but then at the same time you're like, this guy's acting like this is just a normal everyday thing there.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, is everyone, even the host of the show, they're basically all serial killers and cannibals, or some of them are actual mutant monsters. So Yeah, to them, this is like totally normal. Sometimes they'll even complain about how America is behind on the times by making murder illegal, things like that. So, yeah, for them, this is just like their way of life.
Yeah, and the other thing, I found it really interesting that you decided to include a pastor who lived up on a hill.
Uh-huh.
Now, what was the reasoning behind that? Because I'm the type of person that I don't take things just for surface value. It's kind of like it's almost a flaw of mine. I always look further to kind of see like, all right, what's going on behind the scenes? Like, what's the meaning you're really trying to convey with this, especially with something like religion. And I'm not a religious person at all.
Yeah,
And
me neither.
that's always a topic that's like kind of touch and go with a lot of people. But it was interesting that you included that.
Yeah, there's I guess there's kind of I touch on religion with a few characters, and it's all kind of from different perspectives. So the preacher that lives up on the hill, I don't know if you've gotten so far, but his issue is at any time he can turn into a Wendigo. So I kind of saw it as he lived up on the hill to protect the town from himself in case he were to transform again. And then he found God, and so he puts out these sermons, but he also kind of interprets the Bible to find moments where it almost condones cannibalism.
Yes.
And he sees like tourists that visit the area as like outsiders, sinners. But then there is another preacher who was just like mentioned briefly, but he thinks everyone in Dog Snout County, that's the name of the town, is bad. And so he's almost like a jigsaw character where he finds sinners and puts them in traps and stuff like that, makes them escape them. And then they also have like their own kind of religion where every month they sacrifice, anybody really, usually like tourists from, outside of town, to this big black blob in this old church. And the creature's name is Putrid. And they don't know why they feed people to him. They just know that if they don't, things might get bad. So religion for me is I don't know. I'm not a religious guy, but I also am not one to shit on people's religions. But I just like to kind of explore, I guess, the facets of it, because everybody interprets things differently.
Absolutely.
There's people who are really good Christians, like actually good people and religious, and even if I'm not religious, they don't try to push it on me. But then there's those other people, who spew the word of God, but then they do these horrible things in their free time. So
you have both sides of the coin. You have ones that are loving and they try to take care of everybody, and then you have the other ones that try to force all of their beliefs onto everyone else because that's the way and that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't go like crazy into that. I actually try to keep the podcast from being like, I don't try and put politics or current events in. I did just do a quarantine themed episode because this stuff is all so crazy.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm like, I feel like I should, But overall, I try not to. But there's little bits of stuff like that in there. I try and kind of reflect the real world in little ways in a deranged sort of way, I guess.
Yeah. And see, I thought it was interesting with the religion too, because like when he was saying that cannibalism is okay because it's in the Bible and it's justified and we're doing God's work. It's interesting that you say that because there's so many things like, look, there's been wars fought in the name of God.
Yeah.
Right? And people have believed that with these killings, they're doing God's work. Look at something like the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
Like they believed that they were doing something for God, and I don't agree with the grounds that they did it on, because who can just say someone's a witch? It's pretty ridiculous. It's a pretty wild claim to make, especially with no backing to it. Like you can just say, well, I didn't like somebody, so you're a witch, burn her, shit like that. But people have done so many things in the name of God. So to add that into it, I found it really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too, is almost because there's been so many like horrific atrocities throughout history tied to religion, it kind of makes it easy in a horror podcast to twist the religious angle and take it into, like down the road of horror. It kind of lends itself to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with creating this, do you write out every episode first? Like, will you do a whole, like, I know you're only into the second season, but when you did the first season, like, did you write it all out completely and then kind of break it into episodes, or did you write one at a time and build the story?
So a lot of times, I say a lot of times, it's only been 2 seasons, but it just has felt so long because the way I kind of do it is I write it as I go along. Mm-hmm. So I like write an episode. Sometimes I'll get ahead on like a couple. And so I'll write like 2 episodes, record them, edit them, and then like I start on the next one. So I have like 2 weeks to get it all done. Yeah. Write it, record it, do all the sound. And then I kind of like to do it that way rather than plan it all out. Sometimes I have like a season finale in mind that I want to work towards, but I leave it pretty loose. And the benefit of that, especially like I found this in season 1, that's why I kind of kept doing it this way in season 2, is I might like write ahead a few episodes, but then, the more I think about it, something happened in a previous episode that I really liked, or a character, and so, to keep the world feeling like it's like a living, breathing world, I like things to kind of come back or be referenced back, like, cause and effect. It's not like a cartoon where everything just resets. Mm-hmm. There is like a continuity, but I don't get like crazy worrying about it.
So you keep it loose just in case. Like, let's say you wake up tomorrow and something from 2 episodes ago, you're like, oh, that would be the perfect thing to add into this. And then you roll with it from that point.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because there's times where when I'm writing it, there might be something in an episode I don't think anything of, and then once I actually like edit it, add all the sound effects, things like that, it might be a character and I'm like, oh, I like this character more than I thought I would. I'm going to bring this character back. And then even in season 2, actually, the original season finale I had planned out was totally different. It was going to go in a totally different direction. And then I had something happen with a character in season 2 that I'm like, this feels like it should go somewhere bigger. And so that's going to end up actually factoring into the finale more. So that's why I like to, kind of do it as I go. But that does make it harder to churn stuff out on time. But I usually manage.
Yeah. Yeah. How long does it take you to put together an episode?
Writing doesn't usually take me too long, especially because I've got like, I'll have like the general premise of an episode, and then I fill it out with other little ideas that either might just come to me when I'm writing, or that I have like a Google Doc just filled with random ideas that I'll just add to if something pops in my head, and I'll refer back to that. So writing usually doesn't take too long. Maybe takes me an hour or less if I'm really in like a good groove. Recording, if it's like a more just because I feel like there's kind of there's like a spectrum to the show. On one end, you have the fake radio show. Yeah. And some episodes are just that and super chill. But then some episodes are like full on like audio play, like all action. Mm-hmm. And then some episodes are somewhere in between where it might have like one little scene or sketch with like a lot of action. So if it's just like a radio show one, I'll record it in like a half hour. It might take, hour and a half, 2 hours to edit. But then there's been big episodes that it's like I was editing for like every day for a week, adding in sound effects, like creating a soundscape. So it really just depends, but I try to give myself more time if I know I'm going to go big for an episode.
Yeah. Now, do you do all the voices?
I do most of the voices. When I started out, I did all of the voices, and not even because I was like cocky and thought I was so good, but because I was like, well, I'm just doing this thing alone, so I got to make do. So, for some characters, I'd throw more effects on their voices if they're a monster, stuff like that. But now as the show's gone on, I've met some other people who do like podcasts, kind of fictional ones. Mm-hmm. So they'll do like guest voices on like, they might do a one-off character, or I have like fake commercials in the episodes with like deranged products. So they might like do those, and I love bringing other people into the mix too. And I like to collaborate. So a lot of times, I kind of give them like a loose outline, and I'll tell them like, just do your thing. Yeah. Don't worry about the script so much. Just make sure to like hit these beats so it like, fits in with the rest of the episode. But, otherwise I let them just kind of improvise and kind of do what they want,
That's awesome. Now, have you ever done any other type of writing, like story writing or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, since I was a kid, I always wanted to make movies. So it's like I've written scripts. I've written a few feature-length scripts. I've done, a lot of short films, and I always write them myself. I've written some fiction. I always have these ideas in my head, and so I've kind of dabbled in all sorts of mediums to get those ideas out there, Mm-hmm. But that's why the podcast, like I said earlier, has been so great, because it's kind of just so ridiculous that anything goes. So there's been times where I kind of had a movie idea from way back in high school, and I'm like, I could probably write that into the show somehow,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've all had ideas like that. Like, I've written things. I'm in the process of trying to put together a movie script right now. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a task. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you've written.
Yeah, I've written a few.
It's not easy. My friend had written one a while back, and he sent it out to a couple studios, but he never got anything back from it. And it's so disheartening too, because you put so much time and effort into these things, and just for someone to look at it and read like the synopsis page and just go, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because, I've put scripts up on different platforms. You'll get someone, you'll get a notification, someone downloaded it. You get excited. You don't hear anything back.
Yep.
And I did have like one kind of close call once where this producer he showed interest in this one script, and we were emailing back and forth. He was giving me notes on how to make it like more sellable, which was a weird experience for me because I've always just written, for myself. So it was kind of weird to like think about, I guess in terms of like Hollywood,
Yeah.
And he shopped it around a few places. He was really great. He really stuck with it, but it didn't end up taking off, which is the case with, most scripts.
Yeah. And you know what the funniest thing is? How many piece of shit movies do they make?
I know. That's the crazy thing. Like, it's not even like, this is going to sound cocky, but it's really not. It's like there's times where, like, especially after that script didn't take off, and I felt like it was pretty good, pretty unique, like different than, I hadn't really seen something exactly like that. And then you see it was horror, and then you see these other garbage horror movies coming out that I'd actually go see in theaters. And I'm like, if that could get made, why couldn't mine?
Exactly. It's like, why can't mine get made? Like, you guys are seriously going to sink $20 million into this piece of shit?
Right.
And then you wouldn't even give me $100,000 to try to throw something together.
Yeah, there's no method to the madness. The suits there, the producers, who knows what they're even looking for. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with quality. So I don't know.
It really doesn't. With the way, we've had some people on the podcast. We've had a couple rappers on the podcast, and they're signed by major labels. And just with the conversations that we have with them, I know it's the music industry compared to the movie industry, but a lot of it's very similar.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, it's all about money. It's all about who you know, whose pocket you're in, who's in your pocket. That's why you see so many people. I don't know how familiar you are with rappers, but have you ever heard of Nino Bless?
Yes, I've heard of Nino Bless. I'm not super familiar with rap. I'm more the type where I'll hear a song I like, and that'll get added to the playlist, but I don't know a ton of artists per se.
Yeah. Well, we got into...
But I've heard of him, yeah.
We got into a good conversation with him about just how the industry works in general, because you'll see so many people that will get on a major song, or they'll have that one big hit, and then they just fall away. And it's like,
Yeah.
or better yet, the people who have actual skill, like especially in rap, like you turn on whatever radio station and you're gonna hear the same crap like 7, 8 songs.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
mean, they'll categorize some of them as like hip hop, and it's not. It's pop music. But I understand what they're trying to do. But the thing is, you wonder, like you listen to it and you're like, how does anybody like this? Like
Right.
where does the views come from, the listens, the downloads? Where does all that stuff come from? And
Yeah.
when we were talking to him, he was telling us about how a lot of these artists, they'll pay the labels, they'll pay producers, they'll pay people, and they jack up the numbers for everything. So that
Mm.
now you have an artist like, let's say, a Logic, who, I mean, if you look at the videos of his concerts, it's like little kids.
Right.
But he's trying to
Right.
claim, oh, I rap real shit. I rap
Yeah.
real life shit. And it's like,
Right.
no, you don't, bro. You got 12-year-olds at your concert. What do you mean real shit?
Right.
Like, whatever. Maybe you used to a long time ago, but I don't know what fans you have now, you know?
Yeah.
And the same thing goes, I feel like, for the movie industry,
Yeah.
where it's like you'll have someone that comes up. I mean, you hear about these scripts that people have written that are just so in depth, and they're the greatest movies, and they, like, if they're ever made, oh, it'll be incredible. But then they'll go make a piece of shit like Geely, and
Yeah.
you're like, really?
Right.
Like, you'll have your script, and you're like, I really put my heart and soul into this, and I think it's a
Yeah.
good story, and I think it has layers to it, and it's this and that, and they're like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
It's almost like they don't want to promote the nobodies, essentially.
They don't. It seems like it really does seem to be a little bit of like who you know. It seems like anybody who really makes it always has like some family member who's in the, in the business, or yeah, for sure.
It's like that.
It's strange. It's hard to break in.
It's like that with everything. I mean, you just talk to anybody on the street, talk to any one of your friends. Oh, how'd you get the job that you're working in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, my dad knew the guy who cut the lawn of the guy.
Right.
And it's like, really? Oh, okay. Like, I
Yep.
have I put together, do you remember, when was it on? Not too long ago, that, you have Netflix?
Yeah, of course.
You remember that show, Love is Blind?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No, I know it.
I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. I didn't enjoy it in a sense of like, oh my God, this is such a good show. I enjoyed it because of how stupid it was.
Right.
Like, it was hilarious.
Sometimes that's all you need,
Yeah, it was hilarious to me how fake it was. Like, it was unreal. So, like, but that got me thinking. I started to write a show, and I was like, I think this will be a good concept. And it was similar to Love is Blind, but it had a couple other twists on it. But just bring it up like, oh, if you know this one, you know that one. My dad, his fiance, the doctor she works for, has a son who works for Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to send it through him.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you've got the, even if it's a loose hookup, if you've got the hookup, you got to use it. There's like no other way. You got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it's like just to get it in the hands of somebody there, just because you never know what could happen. But it's like, if I don't know anybody, first off, I wouldn't even know where to send a script or a show idea or anything, because, I mean, you could Google all day, but like at the end of the day, it's not really going to get on that person's desk.
Right.
Not in the same way if you know somebody, like, oh, hey,
for sure.
Here's this guy from New Jersey. This is a show he came up with. Oh, all right.
Yeah, for sure. Though, speaking of that, have you ever posted stuff on Reddit? Because here's the thing. I know that sounds bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound legit. But on like, I think it's called Make My Script or something like that. There's like a whole Reddit forum for it, and it's like, I have had a couple people make short films of mine from that, where I didn't, I had old scripts. I'm like, I don't want to actually make movies anymore. I'll just see if I can get, someone else, to make the script if they want. They're just collecting dust. But the feature length one that producer did show interest in, that's where he found it, Reddit.
Really?
And, and I mean, we had like almost a 2-year back and forth where he was really keeping in touch with me, trying to get it done. And so, yeah, I just haven't tried again. But, I mean, I found him from there, so I guess you never know. Because there's also a lot of people there will just post requests where it's like they want to make something, you know, and so they'll ask for people to send them scripts in this genre or whatever. And, yeah, I mean, I've had some luck there. But, of course, if you have a chance to aim high and shoot for Netflix, you want to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I haven't shot down putting something on Reddit because I've considered it before, but I feel like there would just be too much nonsense feedback. You know, did you find that happen?
You know, not too bad. It was, I would say most people are good. Most of the people that are in that forum really are just kind of looking to either make stuff or get stuff made. So there's not a lot of trolls in there, just, you know, just commenting bullshit. So, no, I didn't really run into that much at all. I was surprised, too, because I thought I would, you know, no one read it. But,
oh, absolutely. That's my first feeling even when you say Reddit, I'm like, oh, a bunch of pieces of shit on there.
Right. That's the thing with that is I think in that community it has a separate little subreddit where you know, you can post stuff and ask for feedback. So generally, if you're just posting a script to try and, you know, pitch it to someone, most people aren't going to read it and comment. Like that's almost in like another section. So I think it kind of weans that out a bit probably.
Might have to give it a shot then.
Yeah, anything, try everything, right? There's also another site called Script Revolution. You can throw stuff on there. Yeah.
Oh, I'll check it out. I will definitely check those out.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of trolls, let's talk about Garth a little bit.
Yeah. I'm always down to talk about Garth, trying to spread the truth, you know?
Yeah. So, what was it like? Like, did for everybody watching, if you are not a fan of Tome Segura or Christina P. or Your Mom's House, they have a podcast and they've made fun of Garth Brooks now for how long?
I think it's been a couple years.
Yeah, it's
at least now.
It's just absurd. I'm not going to go into all the details of what they do to this guy, but if you ever want to check it out, go on to Tome Segura's Instagram or go on. You can go on to Garth Brooks' Instagram alone and just look at all the comments on there because they will make no sense according to the pictures he posts.
Yeah, right.
So
it's all Tome Segura fans now.
Yeah.
His social media is ruined.
What was it like when you made the slideshow that you did? And did he reach out to you?
No, actually, so first, actually, last year, I made a Garth video where I cut him into Saw. And I used his first really creepy Facebook post. Yep. And the thing is because, like I said, I just do really boring corporate editing work.
Yeah.
So sometimes just to like keep my sanity, I'll just make something stupid for myself. Mm-hmm. So I cut Garth Brooks into a scene from Saw, and I posted that last year, and Tome Segura actually reposted that. So that was like a year ago. No, he didn't reach out, but he credited me, you know, and just reposted it. And then he's reposted like one other thing, and then recently I made a couple things he reposted, and one was just Garth Brooks photoshops. Yeah.
And that was funny too, because when I had asked you to be on, the other day I was listening to the most recent one they put out, and he's like, and this one's from Squatchronson.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, he got another one. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, that blew my mind, because like having him repost the stuff the first time he did that way back when was awesome. I was like shaking, I was freaking out, I was so excited. But I didn't expect it to get on the show, and I was more than happy just that he reposted it.
Yeah.
And then it was like 2 episodes of his podcast in a row. They actually put things that I made on the podcast, and I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, that was mind blowing. I was freaking out.
So he never like DM'd you or anything like that?
No.
Have you tried?
No, but Tom doesn't follow me. Christina follows me because she's the personality champ.
Yeah.
And I DM'd her before, just sent her something like a TikTok or whatever, and she's responded. And but no, they didn't reach out. It was just a pleasant surprise for me. So, yeah. But Tom has commented on this stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
I've seen that. I know with him, there's no way that he's managing his own social media. So.
Of course not. He's got such a huge following.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, seeing a comment from him is like, that's really heartwarming too.
Yeah, because then that's definitely him.
Right. Yeah.
So that's awesome. I saw him last June in Atlantic City.
Nice.
It was when he was doing the special he just put out.
Ball Hog.
Yeah, I caught it. Yeah. I caught like as he was like kind of building it. So I mean, there were like bits that he left out. Like there were bits he did there that didn't get into the special, and like I was really excited for him to come out. And it was such a good show. And one of the craziest things too, like we're walking out of the where was it? I forget the name of it. It was like the Ocean something like that. But the place seated like 6,000, right? And like to see him come out, like, and I was second row. Like we paid like $200 for the tickets.
Nice.
And I was like, it's totally worth it. Like we were literally like 7 feet away from the mic and the stage. Like it was awesome. And I do stand up. So to actually see like someone that I admire, like who I find extremely hilarious, like, and I almost model myself after him a little bit. It was awesome. So we're walking out of the arena place that they have, and we're walking through the casino, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, it would be so crazy if like you just ran into him randomly.
Yeah, of course.
And dude, I'm not even kidding you. As soon as the thought left my mind, I just look ahead of me a little bit, and he comes out of a door, and he turns and he starts walking towards me, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really gonna happen. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, because I feel like me and him kind of have similar personalities, and I know myself, I'd be like, yo, I want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want to be bothered with anything.
Right.
And I was about to be like, you know what? Let me just pass him and be like, hey, great show, Tom. I'm a big fan. And then keep it moving. I won't even ask him for a picture. But
yeah, just keep it quick.
Yeah, I was like, when am I ever going to see him again? Fuck it. And I was like, Tom, can I get a picture? And he's like, yeah, man, sure. And it was awesome because there's all sorts of people around. Nobody else was stopping him. I felt like I was the only one who knew who he was.
Yeah.
Which was crazy because it's Tome Segura.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the thing with comedians is it's like, even someone like him, it's like he's big. Of course he's big. He's like one of the biggest right now, but they're still like not as famous as like a movie star. So I feel like you could probably go up to most comedians and talk to them a bit because they're more down to earth. They're not being bombarded 24/7. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Especially the ones like him where, like you said, he is big. He does have a huge fan base, but he's not like Kevin Hart level. Like,
right.
You're not getting close to Kevin Hart. If he's walking out of a place, first off, he's not even doing a place that's 5,000 or 6,000 seats.
Yeah.
Not unless that's his choosing to do that for something, because he's doing arenas, he's doing stuff like that. Not that Tom can't, because I'm sure he could, but he just doesn't have that following yet to kind of sell out an arena.
Yeah, and I mean there's not even that many comedians like that, the stadium guys. And I actually feel like the people that listen to those huge comedians are generally not even really into stand-up comedy in general.
Yeah.
They're more just like, that's more like the mainstream stuff. It kind of appeals to the masses. So people that don't even really like comedy will go see those big guys, but then they won't see, Jim Gaffigan or Tome Segura, even though obviously both of them are hugely successful.
Yeah.
I'm just talking in terms of the general public. Stand-up comedy is not necessarily on everybody's radar. It's definitely more popular than it used to be with Netflix and stuff, but it's still a little underground. Like I'm the only person I know in terms of like most of my friends and my family that goes and sees stand-up live.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen most of my favorite comedians live, but I haven't seen Tom yet.
No.
I'd love to see Tom, Christina, but I've seen pretty much everyone else I want to see. And there's still, there's always up and coming comics that I'd like to see and stuff. But Tom and Christina are on my bucket list for sure.
Who's some of your favorites?
Well, so let's think who I've seen, because I've only kind of gone and seen, people I really wanted to see. So I've seen Louis C.K. before all the controversy. Yeah. And then what was really cool about that one is he just surprised everyone and brought out, to open for him, he brought out Hannibal Buress.
Really?
Yeah, because it was in Chicago. So like Hannibal was there. He brought out Hannibal and then Stephen Wright. And I was like, holy shit, that's like a legend. What a
show. Holy shit.
And it's like, there was no opener listed on the ticket. And it was a cheap, $45 ticket because that's how he would price stuff.
Dude, that's 3 headliners for the price of 1. That's absurd.
I know. And then I've gone to, I did the Oddball Comedy Tour. I went and saw that when they did that, which I don't even think exists anymore. And that had Bill Burr, Sarah Silverman, Hannibal was there again.
You know what? I'm not sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not a fan of Sarah Silverman. I don't know why.
I agree. That's the thing is, sometimes she'll make me like piss my pants laughing, but then other times, she's not like one of my favorites. But the Oddball Comedy Tour, it was just like I think it was like 20 comedians. So it's like and some of them were big too. So I got to even like hate them or love them, but like Chris Hardwick was there. Yeah. Like it was all of these names. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Jim Norton?
Haven't seen Jim Norton.
He's hilarious, man.
I like Norton a lot too. So Norton would be fun to see. And then I've seen Lewis Black.
Oh, Bill, amazing.
Yeah, I've seen Bill Burr. I think I've seen Bill Burr twice just on his own.
Yeah.
Brian Posehn. I've seen Maria Bamford. So I've seen a good amount. I think I'm even forgetting a few. But
how about have you ever seen Joey Diaz?
God, no. That would be,
bro.
Oh, that would be crazy. I can't even imagine being in a room with that man.
Yes, it's incredible, dude. We have a place that's I don't know how familiar you are with New Jersey, but
not at all, honestly.
There's Rutgers University?
Yeah.
Okay, Rutgers University is in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So in New Brunswick, there's a comedy club. It's called the Stress Factory. Seats about 350, 400 maybe. Very like more intimate setting, but I have seen some of the biggest names at that place. I've seen Chris Rock there. I've seen Louis C.K. there, Patrice O'Neal, Jim Norton. Last October, was it last October? Yeah. Last October, Joey Diaz was there. And dude, those tickets sold out so quick. I couldn't even get them, especially because he's from Jersey.
Yeah.
So like everybody loves him here, and it's like those tickets sell out so quick. I got put on a wait list for it, and they called me the day of, like 12 o'clock, and they were like, "We have one ticket for the 9:30 show." I go, "Yup, give it to me. I don't care what it costs."
Yeah.
Dude, I went.
And you just went alone. That's how excited you were to see it. I straight up
went by myself.
Yeah.
And, like I sat at a table with a bunch of these dudes that they were like, I was like, "Oh, can I sit at this table with you guys?" Like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And dude, I have never felt a room like rumble like that in my life.
I can only Joey Diaz he's a fucking murderer. He's he's a special breed. He barely really human.
He's his own thing. I don't even really like to call. He's not even a stand-up comedian. He's Joey Diaz.
Well, and like he's one of those guys that it's just like he's so genuine, and that's just so him that it's like he's able to get away with shit that no one else would be able to. And it's like people like that in real life. There's some people that are just like so like magnetic and just so crazy that you just like let all this crazy shit slide. And it's like
It's just Joey. Fuck it,
Yeah,
let
it's
him
just
go.
Uncle Joey. Yeah, he's so fucking
Dude, I'm telling you,
crazy.
if you have a chance to see him at any time, absolutely pay whatever the ticket costs and go,
Oh,
because
I would for
you will
sure.
not regret it. I'll tell you what, he had because since he's from New Jersey, he had people that he grew up with, like childhood friends, literally in the front row. I mean, he walked out, he hugged them and everything, threw him off his game completely. He didn't even go like with the set he had, and
Yeah,
he was just
of course.
telling stories, like stories I've never heard on the podcast, I've never heard anywhere. And I was like,
So
holy
good.
shit. And then it was funny because then a week later, when he did his podcast, he talked about how he went to New Jersey to the Stress Factory and his friends were there and it threw him off and he didn't do his set and he didn't do anything because he tried to go back to it to the end. And like,
Yeah,
since we were the late show, like typically he would do like 50 minutes to an hour. He was probably up there 2 hours.
that's so awesome.
And
So
like,
you lucked out. Good thing you took
oh
that
my
ticket.
God.
Because some people wouldn't go if they had to go alone. You know what I
Oh, fuck
mean?
that. No, I
And
didn't give a shit.
I'm that same way. When at least one of the times I saw Bill Burr, because that's when I lived in Chicago. I was right down the street from Chicago Theater, saw on the marquee he was going to be there. I was texting all my friends, let's go see Bill Burr. It wasn't even that expensive. And they were like, oh, I don't want to spend the money. And I was like, fuck you guys. I'll just go alone. I didn't even care. I literally was able to just walk out my condo, walk a few blocks, and just head into the Chicago Theater. So, if I had to drive to Chicago from the burbs in traffic and stuff, maybe I wouldn't have. But I'm like, there's no reason for me not to go. He's right down the street.
It's like you feel obligated to, because it's like, how many times are they going to come back around,
Right.
It's especially with Joey Diaz. I mean, the guy's done a lot of drugs in his life. He's getting old.
Yeah.
I don't know
Joey Diaz is in rough shape. Yeah, that dude's in rough shape for sure.
Yeah, man. All right, so we do this thing on here. It's called Gun to Your Head. All right.
Okay.
So it's just going to be rapid fire questions. It's like a this or that. All you do is just pick the first one that comes to your head. It's all different topics. It's not just one thing. So it could be some about ice cream. It could be some about Netflix. It could be some about cars. Just whatever the first thing that comes to your head. All right.
Sure.
So here we go. Ben Franklin or Thomas Edison?
Ben Franklin.
Nice. Abe Lincoln or John Wilkes Booth?
Abe Lincoln. I feel very patriotic.
Carvel or Baskin Robbins?
I don't even know Carvel, so Baskin Robbins.
You're missing out.
I'm sure I am.
I think Carvel was only an East Coast thing.
Yeah, must be. I don't think that's all we ever had was, Dairy Queen Baskin Robbins over here.
You know what it is? It's similar to one of those.
Yeah.
It's just its own thing. You know how like In-N-Out is on the West Coast? Like,
yeah.
And then we don't have In-N-Out in New Jersey, but we'll have like Five Guys.
Right. Yeah, we have Five Guys too.
Smash Burger, all those things. Same thing. Dragon or a T-Rex?
T-Rex.
Vanilla ice or vanilla ice cream?
Vanilla ice cream.
Chainsaw or hacksaw?
Chainsaw.
Nice. Gets the job done quicker, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But the hacksaw, you can savor the moments.
But the chainsaw is going to, make a nice little, that's going to get the blood raining down on you real nice. So
this is true.
Loud. Yeah, that's as metal as you get. Chainsaw for sure.
Mankind or Cactus Jack?
Ooh, I'll go Mankind. Okay. I'll go Mankind. That's tough. That one's tough, though.
This one's right up your alley. Would you rather fight Samara from The Ring or Michael Myers?
Michael Myers, but I mean, before he got supernatural, at least he was human at first.
You had a shot.
You might have a chance.
Nerds Candy or the Geek Squad?
Nerds Candy.
Chipotle or Baja Fresh?
I don't know Baja Fresh, so Chipotle.
Oh.
I don't know Baja Fresh.
It's hard sometimes to find where else in the country these things are.
Do you guys have Moe's? Yes. I would pick Moe's over Chipotle.
You would pick Moe's over Chipotle?
Yeah, I love Moe's.
You know what? I feel like with the Chipotle and Moe's debate, It's always like that. It's always one, like you have people that are hardcore Chipotle and they hate Moe's, or vice versa. It's never like, I'd go to either.
Yeah, no. And you know what? I will say this. I used to love Chipotle more, and I just feel like it's not the same anymore. The
Yeah,
last few years, I'm thinking about when I used to go when I lived in Chicago, and maybe that one was just great because every restaurant in Chicago is like higher quality than like the suburbs.
yeah.
And so I did used to love Chipotle, but I just feel like its quality is dipped.
I'll let you have that one. Um, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
One horse-sized duck. I think that would be a funnier visual.
Heinz ketchup or Hunt's catsup?
Ugh, Heinz ketchup.
Okay. And last one, R.L. Stein or Stephen King?
I'm gonna go R.L. Stein.
Wow. Going with
I'm gonna go R.L. Stein just because Goosebumps was my childhood. I fucking love Stephen King, but I've probably ingested more R.L. Stein than I have Stephen King.
Okay. All right, Mike, plug your stuff. What do you got?
All right, so my podcast is the Backwoods Radio Show. That's available pretty much everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and then it's even on a lot of just like small random stuff. So, yeah, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, you can find the Backwoods Radio Show. And then the host of that show, the character I play, Squatchronson, you can follow his Instagram at Squatchronson. And yeah, I'll post excerpts from the podcast, promos, original artwork, stuff like that. So that's the best place to get updates if you do, tune into the show.
Awesome, man. So everyone out there, make sure you go listen to this man's podcast because I can tell you it's entertaining. It's very unique. It's not just the horror, you get the comedy too.
Thanks, Brian. I really
All right,
appreciate
man.
it.
Of course.